So, I have a question for you tonight. What is a good teacher? I bet you all have an answer to that question. After all, you are attending a TEDx education event tonight. I find everyone thinks they know the answer to that question. So, let me tell you what I used to think. When I was a student at university, I had this idea in my head that a good teacher is, first, someone who knows a lot of stuff, at least in their area of expertise. Second, someone who can nicely and simply explain complicated things. Third, someone who makes their students understand. And fourth, someone who is admired by their students because they are recognized as someone knowledgeable. I'm not totally sure where I got these ideas from, but as I said, this is what I used to think. I still think that some of these ideas are valuable, of course. As teachers, we need to know our stuff, of course. We need to care about our students understanding things, of course. And it's probably not ideal if our students hate us, or is it? So, okay, yes, this might be controversial, but bear with me, give me a chance to explain. My current teaching philosophy is not the result of a quick and sudden revelation. It's rather something that developed over time and is still work in progress now. I guess there was, however, one special moment in my life that I like to see as some kind of tipping point for this transformation process I was going through. Back in 2006, quite some time ago, I was a teacher at the University of Luxembourg and co-responsible for a course in the first semester of the Bachelor in Educational Sciences about learning as practice. The objective of that course was to explore, together with our students, various perspectives that humans have developed about learning, ranging from folk theories to various scientific theories like behaviorism, cognitivism, constructivism, and socioconstructivism. You don't need to understand all this. We would have our students read certain texts that we had chosen about these learning theories ahead of the seminar and discuss them later in class. At the end of the semester, we would organize a written exam where they had to show their knowledge and understanding of these different learning theories. Sounds good? Quite traditional, doesn't it? So one day, rather out of the blue for me, some of my students confronted me with an inconsistency in our teaching approach. On the one hand, we made them learn about these learning theories that defined learning as an activity of the learner, as a socially mediated and culturally situated meaning-making process. We were telling them that they, as future teachers, should rethink their own teaching and create learning activities that would support the knowledge construction process of each and every individual pupil by organizing group work to foster collaborative thinking and by confronting their students with meaningful tasks, etc., etc. On the other hand, we were having them sit through an exam individually at the end of the semester to show us if they were able to tell us what we had told them or what the texts that we had chosen for them were telling them. So, you know, it wasn't easy for me to admit, but I kind of agreed with them that there was a problem, that we should do things differently, and that we should find a way to live up to our own message. We decided together, the students and I, that we could do things differently in the following semester. And after having checked with my study program director, who did not oppose the proposed changes, we embarked on an adventure together. I had told my students that if we would do things differently, then we would really have to mean it, that we would not just change the format of the evaluation, but that we would show it to the world. So during the following summer semester, we wrote a book together. And this book was about our encounters with the ideas of Lev Vygotsky, a famous Russian learning theorist, and we self-published this book. At the beginning of the semester, the students formed work groups, decided on a topic or aspect that they wanted to study, theoretically or empirically. Over the semester, they did bibliographic research, looked up things, read existing scientific and pedagogical literature about Vygotsky's theories and its applications to education. They wrote up their chapters, they presented their work to the other students and discussed it. At the end of the semester, I compiled and reviewed all these chapters and wrote a preface. One student even created a cover for our book project. And the students presented their work to the other students of the study program and to me, and to invited guests, which were mostly other colleagues from our study program. Finally, they received a hard printed copy of our collective book that they could take home and proudly show their friends and family. While this was quite laborious for the students and for me, it was also a very intense, satisfying and gratifying and rewarding experience. So I decided that I would use this approach with my next students. And this way, over the following 3 years, we wrote 3 more books during the summer semester. Oh, and here they are. Here you also see the cover in different variations that one of the students created. So over the next years, and together with other co-teachers, I tried to apply this active pedagogy approach to more and more courses I was giving, and, of course, to develop it further. We would have our students choose their own research or development question, do their own bibliographic and or empirical research, do their own creative design project, present their work in progress to their peers, participate in a community of practice over the semester, and at the end of the semester, present their final products to a more or less authentic audience of professionals from the field. Of course, when working this way, it is hard, now it's even impossible often, to predict what individual students will exactly learn in terms of content knowledge. Because everyone will have worked on something else, on a different concept, on a different question. But I have seen over these many years that this type of studying has much more meaning for the students, and they make the things they work on truly their own. It creates much more lasting memories than other more superficial forms of learning. Moreover, and I think this is the most important part, they develop a way of working and thinking that eventually, not always, but eventually enables them to tackle new issues on their own, rather than merely having to rely on some teacher for a quick answer. They become, ideally, less dependent on us teachers. But, and here is a but, this journey of emancipation is not easy and, you can guess, it hurts. Most students don't like this approach, at least in the beginning, because they have to dig deeper. They have to work themselves. They need to take decisions. And they cannot delegate responsibility for these decisions to an authority figure, someone who knows a lot of stuff and guarantees that the things that they memorize are true. And last but not least, they lose some of the predictability and controllability associated with more traditional teaching approaches. They struggle most with the fact that I tell them that I really cannot tell them what I expect them to produce in the end. Since such a creative production process is intrinsically an open-end process, I truly cannot predict, nor do I want to prescribe what their end products will look like. And this way, I learn new things together with them. So, given all my experiences with such a teaching approach over many, many years, and all the readings that I did over the years, and all the discussions also over the years that I had with co-teaching colleagues, I can now say that I think that our role as university teachers is to pull and push our students from a shallow consumer position into a position of creative producers. I realized also that I had to revisit my original assumptions about what it meant for me to be a good teacher. Let me repeat them for you. Assumption 1. A good teacher is someone who knows a lot of things. Well, yes, we are such people, but since our students also know that we do have extensive knowledge in our field of expertise, it's easy for them to simply ask us to tell them what is true or how things should be done. And many of us like to show that they are experts and that they have good answers to many questions. As teachers, we thus need to be aware of this temptation to appear wise and knowledgeable too quickly when our students ask us questions that they should actually be working on themselves. Because if we want students to walk the walk themselves, then we need to refrain from giving them easy shortcuts. We still should help them on this journey, because it's hard, but we should not make it too easy for them. Our mission as teachers is to make them develop their own competencies and not to show off our own mastery and expertise and to feel good about it. I'm aware that this is not always easy, but I think that education at all levels should be about emancipation and needs to avoid the traps of codependence. Assumption 2. A good teacher is someone who can nicely and simply explain things. Well, actually, no. Our job is not to simplify things. We need to make our students deeply think about phenomena in order for them to develop real understanding and not allow them to merely display shallow knowledge, which they might have reproduced from something we told them. We all know that superficially memorizing some clever text or something the teacher said and then recalling it later may make us sound clever. But it actually doesn't require us to understand anything. And still, I do think that knowing things, with your brain I mean, is important to become an independent thinker. I, for instance, like to read about scientific theories developed by other scholars because they allow me to understand phenomena in the world in a different way than what mere experience of these phenomena can give me. But we need to make these theories our own by digesting and incorporating them into our own thinking. Otherwise, our understanding remains shallow. Furthermore, we need to confront our students with authentic, real-life, and thus complex situations where they can apply existing knowledge or develop new knowledge on the fly. This helps them not only to understand the tasks that we give them as meaningful tasks, but it also helps them to develop their own confidence in their own abilities to use or develop their knowledge in other situations that they will anyway encounter in their future lives. Assumption 3. A good teacher is someone who makes their students understand things. Well, actually, we should not only focus on that. Students should rather discover that all knowledge is created by humans and that they can also contribute to that process, even if that is not simple and straightforward, but it actually requires hard work and rigorous thinking. It also helps them to see that we need to critically assess any information that's presented to us and always ask the question, how do we know that this is true? Assumption 4. A good teacher is someone who is admired by their students. That sounds nice, doesn't it? But I think it misses the point. Students should rather be encouraged to become lifelong learners that can teach themselves. This will ideally make them independent from us as teachers, but also as educational institutions. This is why I now see myself more as some sort of midwife, rather than the teacher to be admired, who coaches the students in their struggle to develop the abilities required to later create their own original understanding, to develop new insights, and to design new practices. In conclusion, I wish to help my students to develop the attitude of a scientist, in a broad sense. Not someone who has memorized and knows a lot of things and can impress others with it, but someone who keeps asking questions, someone who understands why the things they assume to be true are actually true, someone who always tries to create new insights, someone who can convincingly communicate the insights that they have created to others, someone who wants to know more about how the world works, someone who keeps inventing new solutions to new problems, and finally, someone who never settles with the status quo. So, in short, I must be the opposite to the teacher that I thought I needed to be, kind of.